Shams al-Maharif, a 13th century grimoire by Ahmad al-Buni, is surrounded by both intrigue and controversy. Its content has been a source of debate among Islamic scholars, with some condemning it for encouraging occult practices. Despite this, the book has persisted through centuries, still read and studied in modern times. One of the main controversies stems from the book's instruction on creating talismans using gods' names, coupled with occult practices like numerology. It details charms and amulets for various needs, from agriculture to wealth and love, and even instructions on contacting jinn and other supernatural beings. These practices, particularly the use of divine names for material gains, were seen as problematic by Islamic scholars, leading some to label the book and its author as heretical and accuse them of devil worship. While specifics about horror stories or murders directly linked to Shams al-Ma'arif are not well documented in scholarly sources, the book has been surrounded by urban legends and myths, many of which are negative in nature. The haunting tale of the Saudi man and the evil lying jinn. In Saudi Arabia, where the desert holds ancient secrets and the wind howls mysteries of the past, a man sat entwined with the pages of Shams al-Maharif. Once a respected scholar, Ahmad was known for his unquenchable thirst for knowledge. His pursuit led him to the fabled grimoire Shams al-Maharif, written centuries ago by the Sufi mystic Ahmad al-Buni. The book, cloaked in mystery and forbidden lore, was said to hold the secrets to summoning and controlling the unseen. Ahmed's dark obsession with the infamous book grew each day. He pored over its long pages, deciphering the cryptic texts and grids of symbols. It was during these endless secret nights that he stumbled upon a forbidden ritual, a ritual to conjure a jinn or demon. The book gave a little warning of the perils of such an act, but Ahmed's curiosity eclipsed any fear to where there was almost none. He performed the ritual. Whispers of ancient Arabic filled the air, and a cold wind swept through the room as Ahmed called upon the powerful jinn. To his awe and horror, the ritual succeeded. Materializing from the shadows, a female jinn of mesmerizing beauty appeared before him, clear and open. She was both ethereal and terrifying, a being of another realm. They converse about a great many things. Bewitched by her allure, Ahmed was drawn into a forbidden union at her insistence. She did not care that he was already married with 2 children. In fact, she seemed happy about it. He eventually agreed to marry the upper-level jinn in a clandestine ceremony, bound by ancient rites and dark promises, which he was given little say in. It wasn't long before she started to make her own sinister demands, namely the life of his family. The jinn, a creature of capricious nature, revealed her true form, a hideous monstrosity. Malevolent and vengeful, she brought chaos into Ahmed's life. One by one, his friends and family met with unexplainable tragedies, fatal and gruesome. His first wife, once the light of his life, was found butchered under mysterious circumstances. Her death was the talk of the town. Everywhere he went, there were whispers and accusing eyes. Then it came again. His children vanished, suddenly, and without a trace. They were never found or heard from again. Ahmed, driven to madness by grief and guilt, realized he would be haunted by them for the rest of his life, and the harm he brought to others could never be undone. Ahmed from Egypt. Several years ago in Egypt, a man called Ahmed, who received the infamous book from a close friend who shared his passions, his friend who had removed 5 pages from the book prior to gifting it, the pages torn out deliberately, or so he said, were never discussed or referenced. Out of all the rituals in the book, these were said to be the most dangerous of all. These pages, as it was told to him, contained the name of demons. He was warned that these rites and rituals were not for him and should not be sought out under any circumstance. He began to familiarize himself with it. He was asking his friend for details on the missing pages, but every time he broached the subject, his friend seemed uninterested. Eventually, his friend warned him to give up reading the book entirely and even ask for it back. The book became his constant companion, but it wasn't long before he found himself questioning a series of bizarre and unexplained events. Knocking began happening at all hours of the night, and sounds would echo and reverberate as if it were happening right next to him. The floor started to burn in places, and a small fire started on his bed, which he quickly put out. The taps would shoot out blasts out water without having been turned, and the pipes would emit an ominous groaning sound. He would tell this to his friend, who strangely seemed disinterested and distracted by some inner struggle of his own, as if he'd hoped by passing over the book he may be unburdened by the same forcing now plaguing him. They stopped being close after that. Then suddenly, late one night, a ring came at the door. His body froze and almost didn't respond to his instruction to move. It took it longer than it ever had done to make strides towards the ring sound, which felt as though it was not his own bell ringing, but he knew it was his own door. When he opened the door, the smell was the first thing that greeted him, before looking down at the motley old man darknessing the passageway. The peculiar-looking man in a misfitting robe stood stone still, and with eyes transfixed upon him, he felt the weight that had previously held him begin to loosen slightly. The first thing he did was to circumspect this odd man with enormous feet and a long, crooked nose with wide nostrils that had furrowed at the end from all the hair rolling out. The skin on his translucent face was rubbery and bulbous. His hands were white like marble and did not match the tone or textured hues on his dark and sinister-looking face, which was unmistakably the most ugly face he'd ever seen, or so he felt at the time. The man looked him square in the eyes and in a serious tone said, "Stop! Stop reading that book!" he said. The man would have no reply, turned and abandoned all conversation. Ahmad felt as though some mesmeric grip had tried to stop him from pursuing the matter. From then on, wherever Ahmad went, no matter the place, no matter the time, he'd see that man, waiting, watching. As hard as he tried to accost the man, he was unable to even approach him. He would find something holding him back, as if pinioned to the ground. Every time and everywhere, this strange standoff became the norm. He'd never seen the man before that day, and he did not have his name. He thought it a clear invasion of his right and privacy, but what was he to do? His nightly torments had a similar effect and response. It just became the way of things. Ahmed did eventually find the courage to seize the book and race to his friend, whose estrangement was cut short late one evening. Ahmed explained that after a week of not reading the book, his strength returned. Still plagued by the old man and events at his house, he'd hoped to relieve himself of the dark curse by returning it. His friend examined the book and almost dropped it from fright. He was as silent as the grave for nearly a minute. Ahmed waited patiently for an explanation. His friend explained to him that demon summoning pages had been torn out before giving him the book, and now all the pages had mysteriously been restored. Not only that, but they had clearly been stitched back inside the book. He asked him immediately if he had read the pages. Ahmed shockingly replied, again and again. The disappearing scholar. Legend speaks of a scholar in the Middle East who became deeply engrossed in studying Shams al-Ma'arif. He was known to have devoted years attempting to unlock its deepest and darkest secrets, particularly those involving communication with the spiritual realm. As the legend goes, one evening the scholar was seen entering his study, clutching forbidden text. He was never seen again. The door to his study was found to be locked from the inside, with no trace of him when it was eventually opened. The book was left on his desk, open to a chapter about bridging the physical and spiritual worlds. All that should have been there was, except for the scholar, who was never seen or heard from again. The Cursed Village. Another tale comes from a remote village, where it is said that a copy of Shams al-Ma'arif was found by a group of villagers. It suddenly appeared and was heralded as a potential savior. The book was used in an attempt to bring prosperity and protection to their community. However, soon after, Strange occurrences began to plague the village. Demons and ghosts were commonplace. Nightmares and loud inhuman screams became a daily occurrence. The worst was when the crops failed, animals fell ill, and misfortune befell many families who died from fright and starvation. The villagers believed that the book had cursed them, and in a desperate attempt to rid themselves of the misfortune, they are said to have buried the book in an undisclosed location at the insistence and instruction of the village elders. The village reportedly still suffers from unexplained phenomena, and locals attribute it to the lingering curse of the book, which has left a deep scar on the surviving inhabitants. Shams al-Maharif, shrouded in mystique and enigma, has long been a source of both fascination and apprehension. Throughout the years, numerous accounts have surfaced of individuals experiencing inexplicable paranormal activities upon opening its pages. These eerie encounters range from the subtle to fatal. People who have spoken of the book in a curious yet positive light report an unsettling feeling that transcends mere coincidence. They describe sensations of being watched by a malevolent, unseen presence, as if the very act of acknowledging the book's existence invites the attention of something otherworldly. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider liking and subscribing. I will see you in the next video.